Welcome to episode 14 of Discover Ocala, presented by Showcase Properties of Central Florida. I'm Valerie Dailey, your host for this podcast. In episode 14, I visit with Chaplain Bob Miller and Dee Miller of Ocala Farm Ministry. I'm so happy to have Chaplain Bob and his wife Dee here with us today. We're going to talk about the Ocala Farm Ministry program that you all have established here in Marion County. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it started in 2004. I believe that's what I read on your website. Tell us how you got here, Bob, and how it got started.
Well, 20-some years ago, the Peggy Sprinkles, if you remember Peggy?
I do.
Peggy, of course, being a racetrack person, had seen chaplains on all the tracks wherever she had worked, and she was determined to start a chaplaincy here. She'd made a couple of attempts before, but for some reason, whatever, they hadn't taken, and so they put out the word. We met at OBS in the dining hall there. Well, they were meeting with people like Bonnie Heath and so many others I can't even name, but they put together a group, and so after a little time, after they figured out more or less what they wanted to do, they put out a word looking for a chaplain, and Beverly Tortora and her husband and some of the McCathans were going to Oak Grinder Baptist Church, where Dee and I were actually serving there. And so I went and met with the group that was trying to form the chaplaincy, and I put in an application. Now, there were 3 people put in applications, but I was the only one that could speak Spanish, which is pretty much an imperative here. And I was, one of 2 who lived here, and the other guy didn't speak Spanish. So they gave me a 6-month probationary period, and here I am 20-some years later.
23.
That is awesome. And the farm ministry was started to support the farm workers and their families.
Yes, it's kind of a social, an extension of the social needs of the folks here. And of course, we provide spiritual needs and emotional and things like that. Mostly it's to help people who are working hard every day, many hours a day, but sometimes run into problems that they just can't surmount. And so we're here to back them up, and we have gained a whole lot of experience about the needs of the folks here in the community, and we've learned a lot about how to deal with them. And that's why I believe that the farms are so good at supporting us, because they know they may or may not have the time or the knowledge or the experience to deal with the folks the way that we do, the way we've learned to do over the years. We didn't start out brilliant. I'm not saying we are brilliant now, but we know a little more now than we did 20 years ago, and we're able to apply it.
Well, it's a work in progress.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
So you started out, I believe, with a soccer field.
Exactly right. We the first thing we had was a soccer field, and we didn't have any buildings. It's a funny thing. Sheila DeMari lived or had Rising Hill right down the road, and she drove by when we were looking for a place. My office was at OBS at that time, and we had no other facilities besides that office. And Sheila drove by this property one day and got excited about it. And it didn't take Jackie but about an hour to go run down and find out the owners and put some money down on it. It was all woods at that time. We have 8 acres, and most of it is soccer field. And over the years, we've developed a number of buildings. But yes, soccer was the big draw in the beginning, and it continues to be our one of our major programs.
Mm-hmm. And from that, as I understand it, you now have a school, and that's where you come in.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how that got started and what you are doing with the school program.
Well, that was Bob's vision to have me join him, working with him. And at the time I was working at Redeemer Christian School, teaching there, and happily and fruitful, and I loved it. And about the 4th year of his
cajoling,
cajoling, I had some personal things happen, the death of my parents, and the Lord was speaking to me at that time. And I realized that it was time to leave something that I loved to see where the Lord was taking me. And so I retired from Redeemer and I came to join Bob. And he just wanted me to start working with the women and the children. But my first outreach was with the teenage girls, and I started to meet them and have a Bible study. But if I'm going to touch the lives of these young girls, I felt that I needed to talk to the mothers and get to know them. And so I would have these little convivials, these little coffee and lunch, and I would invite them and make everything very pretty for them, because these are hardworking women that are not used to having any kind of frills. And so I would invite them and we would start talking, and I was looking to see where their needs were. And the mothers immediately said, "Forget about our daughters. We need your help." And so I started meeting with them, and they found out that I was a teacher. So they started bringing me their children that were failing to thrive at their public schools. I was encountering second and third graders that could not read. They could not write. They could not do math. And so I started out with this little office in the main community center. And from there it spilled into where we have church. And then an anonymous donor came forth and built this, 2,000
Probably 2,000 square feet.
feet.
Dedicated specifically to the school, as a school.
Brick and mortar school. Because right now our community center and where we hold church is a prefab building. And after a while they get worn out, but brick and mortar lasts forever. And so I moved into there in 2019, and we had the challenges of the COVID. But I said I'm not going to allow that to impede our progress. So we started out with 6 or 7, and this past year we had 24. It's a one-room schoolhouse. I have it set up where we have kind of centers. I brought a lot of things with me from Redeemer, all of my books, because I taught English and literature. It's also become a meeting house where the mothers come, and I try to connect them with each other so that they learn to work together, so that I don't have 24 parents dropping them off, but teaching them about carpooling. And I've been doing this for a while, and it has also morphed into not only a school, but a sanctuary for the families to come and seek aid, whether it's food, whether it's clothing. A lot of it is they need a ride to see a doctor, or they need some help in the courthouse, or they need hospital care. I notice that a child is a bit off, so we start going to Shands and take them to the clinic. It took me 3 years, but I finally had a young boy diagnosed. He's autistic, but because of all of that, he now has the help that he needs, not in the public school, but in the private school. So I've also been working with the school choice that our governor has set, where now it's open to all children that have needs. So I find that if I can't help them, I find another place for them to go. I go to the heart of Florida a lot. I have found a lot of success there. The health department.
And your kids, as I understand it, have gone from failing to being on the AB honor roll.
Yes, AB honor roll, and reading very well. It's been a beautiful thing because these strangers are now friends. They're well loved, and right now, even though it's summertime and I'm not dealing with the children, I'm still helping the moms. I go to court with them, and because of Bob and being at Redeemer, I've met a lot of people that I can use to meet
Help
the
these,
needs
right.
of others, and
Right.
they love that. They feel like they're doing something.
What are you looking to do with the program? How are you wanting to expand? What do you need? Just fill us in on that.
First of all, we don't condemn the public school teachers. It's not on them why these kids can't read and write to a certain degree, because they're not backed by their by their bosses, and they have large classrooms, which is one of the things we're trying to avoid, is to have too many children being taught by one particular individual. There's always needs, material needs, and again, volunteers. My wife can tell you probably more than me what exactly she needs, but I think basically that's the thing. We don't have room to get too much bigger at this point, but we do have room for volunteers to come and make the groups smaller so that they get more attention.
Is it a prerequisite to be able to speak Spanish?
No, most of the children were born. That's the thing about it. Most of the children were born here. A lot of them have parents that don't speak any English at all, though. And so when they go home from their public school or from our school with any materials, English or Spanish, English, of course, the parents can't read. They can't help their children develop their vocabularies coming from public school. So, but it's not really a prerequisite. The kids do speak English. Dee does all the talking with the moms and the dads, but the kids speak English.
I had two families that were new to our country, and they graduated this year from their schools, from their grade in public school, and they were speaking English. And because I don't allow them to speak Spanish, only if there's an issue.
How does someone know to bring or become a part of Ocala Farm Ministry?
In the beginning, I would get up every morning with the horses and the people, and I actually set foot on 1,000 farms in the first few years here. So that's how the word got out originally. We are on social media, but pretty much it's word of mouth these days. Now, the folks in the community that do the donations, that's how they find out about us, again, from me visiting the farms. But I also went to the barns and passed out a business card, probably 10,000 of them over the years. And again, for people who have needs in a community, the grapevine is everything. And so the word is out there. We have a big sign out in front of the community center, but it's mostly word of mouth for the ones who have the needs. And we've been blessed to have the support of the community. It's incredible for 20-some years.
And it's a beautiful thing because our center is open 24 hours, and a lot of people come there to relax. Bob built this circuit that you can walk and do little push-ups and the cargo net and all of that. So women and children come and they walk. We have a little playground, and we have the pavilion where we have picnic tables and they can come and sit. A lot of times families come and have their birthday parties there or Christmas parties or the quinceañera. So it's a place for the community to come to and meet. No one is a stranger.
And that's why we love where we live.
Yeah.
It's because we have people like you reaching out to our community to make it better, not just for our community, but for the lives of the people that live in this community. So I thank you guys very much for being a part of our community and helping those in the community. So thank you guys very, very much.
Thank you.
We are very happy that you're a part of this community.
And we're really grateful for your support, Valerie, and all those who've supported us over the years.
Thank you guys very much for coming in and sharing your stories.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thanks to Chaplain Bob and his wife Dee for joining us today. And we look forward to being with you once again next month, right here on Discover Ocala, presented by Showcase Properties of Central Florida.
Discover Ocala is presented by Showcase Properties of Central Florida. As an independent brokerage firm for over 2 decades, Showcase Properties has helped customers throughout Central Florida achieve their real estate goals. Showcase Realtors offer expertise in a variety of property types and price points, and their services go beyond just buying and selling. Visit showcaseocala.com to connect with a dedicated local realtor and start your unique real estate journey today. We also want to thank you, the listener, for taking time to discover Ocala with us. We hope you enjoyed this month's episode, and if you did, please consider leaving us a review or rating wherever you're listening, or even telling a friend about us. If you have any questions on other organizations, individuals, or events you'd like to see covered in future episodes, you can get in touch with us directly at discoverocala@showcaseocala.com. See you next month.